Hello my fellow paint monsters, how has this week been for you? I'm Aga and this is Hungry for Paint, a channel about handmade watercolor paints. Today I want to do some color mixing using paints from MCM Arts. If you haven't seen my review of these that I did last week, check the latest video on my channel. These paints are really quite unique. There are some very unusual pigments, they're high quality and they're really interesting. So first a color mixing chart. If you saw my video from last week, then you know that my chamomile is a bit strange and behaves differently than it normally should. In a nutshell, it's not supposed to be so staining and so patchy and mixes with other colors. And for other people who have it, according to the words of some of my friends who tried this color, as well as some of Christina's customers who bought this color, for them it behaves normally. But for me it acts a bit weird, it separates in the mixes, it creates some texture, and for me it's very difficult to wash it out of the brush. But it doesn't seem to be working this way for other people. So you're going to see in all the mixes containing chamomile in my mixing chart that the yellow separates and sort of creates yellowish patches. The vermilions, by the way, are pretty difficult to wash out of the brush as well. I mentioned it last week. In general, vermilion pigments from different makers are pretty staining, but with these I did have some trouble cleaning the brush between picking up different colors. But as you can see, these vermilions can create some really lovely colors. I really like the mix of Chinese vermilion and Paris blue. And Paris blue in general is a great color for mixing. I also love it together with the rust. I love it together with light ochre. I think it looks great together with Podgy Castle. So I think it's a really nice one to get. I'm doing an ink test as well, so you can see how these paints work together with pens. I'm using a Sakura Pigma Micron pen as usual. These paints are pretty transparent, so you should be okay if you decide to paint with them on top of your line work. I think the light ochre is the most opaque, but I don't think it's a huge deal. I think it's still transparent enough to use it this way, so this went fine. I also wanted to show you some mixes with lazurite, with lapis. It creates a pretty strong texture and it's got visible particles, so I thought that could create an interesting effect. And in fact it does. For example with green opal, which also is a color with texture and with some grain. Not much, it's very subtle, but it's there. I also wanted to see where mixing Paris blue together with Solar would take me, and I think the effect is quite interesting, especially where you use just a little bit of Solar and mostly Paris blue. To me it does look almost like a starry sky. And if you get chamomile, it's probably going to behave completely differently for you, as my pan seems to be a freak accident, but nevertheless I wanted to show you how it behaves for me, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And here's the second part of the ink test. I'm drawing a line using the same pen on top of the dried paint, and here most of the colors worked great. Visually they all work fine. However, in case of lapis and thulite, these colors do have a bit of grain, so they're not very pleasant to write and draw on top of them, as you can feel some grit under the nib of your pen. I think only thulite doesn't look very good if you draw on top of it. I don't know about green opal because I did not check it, but my guess is it might not be best suited to draw on top of it either, just like thulite, because it feels pretty similar in terms of texture. So overall you can see that you can make some quite amazing mixes using these colors. Some of the combinations really speak to me. I really like some of the more yellowish mixes of lapis with light ochre, as well as the mixes of green opal together with light ochre. And here's a little demonstration piece. For this one I'm using Pot de Castle, porphyry, Chinese vermilion and light ochre, and I'm also using a tiny bit of green opal and adding it to the soup. Alright, this is everything I wanted to show you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, press the like button, leave a comment down below, and you can always support Hungry for Paint on Ko-fi. Visit Hungry for Paint on Instagram. Check back on Wednesday, there's going to be a little sneak peek of our next maker, and there's going to be a review on Hungry for Paint blog as well. I hope to see you next week. Bye bye!